All right, so here's what I got so far. I actually didn't end up liking the sound, so I switched it to a brass sound. So I'm gonna rename this. So I right-clicked. We're looking at rename and color. I'm gonna rename this brass. And I don't know, it brought the track alive when I played them together. So let me play you what we got so far. All right. All right. Now, you may have noticed there's like a hissy sound. Like, I'm going to play it one more time and listen for the tss going on in the background. It's kind of cluttering the track and putting some white noise there that we don't want. So let me play it one more time. Can you hear that? So let's see if we can figure out where that's coming from. So I'm going to open up the mixer. All right, so let's see if it's coming from our new sound. So I just right-click to solo this channel. It's not coming from that. Let's solo the lead line. It's in there. So I think that's the reverb from the sound itself in Serum. So we're going to open that up real quick. So I'm clicking Guitar Chunk. It highlights it here. I'm going to go to the instrument rack. We can see that this is the Serum. And you could rename this if you wanted to, like as you go. I find it's kind of a time waster for me, but some people like to stay organized that way, so feel free to do that. Here, you can see you can rename here. So I'm going to click rename. I'm going to name it Guitar Chunk. You know. You can do that if it helps you keep track of things, especially as you add more and more instruments. For me, I don't really need to do that. Okay, but anyway, we've got our sound here, and in Serum, there is an effects section right here at the top. So I'm going to click Effects, and I'm looking for the reverb. I'm going to turn the reverb off and see if that makes a difference. Yeah. Woo! That's a lot cleaner, right? Okay, cool. So now we have, and I would say this took a lot of time, right? Just to create this little rhythm section. But like I mentioned in the beginning, if you're not starting from something you're like, oh yeah, I love this, then there's no reason to finish the entire beat. But I feel like we've got a good, solid start to this one, right? Like, if I heard this on the radio, I'd be amped. I'd be like, oh, I like this beat. Who did this, right? So keep that in mind as you create. Okay, so what we're gonna do next is we're gonna add a bass line. The bass line likely will be the same as the guitar chunk line. So let me listen to it real quick. You can kind of hear there's already bass in this particular sound. A lot of bass, actually. So we're going to add some sub bass. So we're going to allow that to be kind of, every bass has like a, you know, the 808 is the sub bass, right? That deep reverberating, you know, sound that'll travel for miles. And then there's always like kind of an upper cutting through the track bass as well. Once we get into mixing, I'll show you the frequency ranges that those go into, but basically anything that's, I don't know, 140 and below is, well, maybe even lower than that, probably like 60 or below is sub bass, and then in the like probably 120 range or something like that is that kind of cuts through that way. And then there's some you know, tones that are an octave up and octave up that fall into other frequency ranges, but I don't want to get too technical, right? There's a high bass and a low bass. So we've got our high bass that cuts through the track, and we want to add more of the low sub bass. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Guitar Chunk. I'm going to Control C. Oh, sorry, not Control C. Control A. Hopefully I didn't just paste something in here. Let me look. I didn't. Okay. Control C now. So now it's in the clipboard. and we're going to, and we'll probably have to adjust it a little bit. We're going to add a sub bass sound. I'm going to use an 808 just so I can show you a technique on how to use samples in the piano roll. And likely, you know, a lot of your tracks may have 808, so this is a great way to do that. So let's go ahead and add an 808. 808. There we go. All right. Let's add that in. Dragging that across. Okay. Oh, let's go ahead and unmute those. We don't need those. All right. And I'm going to leave the chords here in case we need them later. But these are the sounds that we're working with right now. All right, so to add an 808 sound, we are going to go in our left panel. And in the sheet that you have, the starter links, it has some places where you can pick up some free samples and sample packs and things like that. Look for one. I think Cymatics has a good one. Or if you buy that huge bundle from Superstar or whoever it is, you'll find an 808 pack. I would share these 808 packs, but I don't own them, so I can't share them with you. You got to go through the right channels to pick those up. But one of my favorite 808 packs that I like to use is in this folder under drums. Let's see. Actually, not that folder. I've got them here in my packs under drums. 808 collection. I think, yeah, this is from Cymatics. So you can pick up the same one. I think it's a free one. And I like to use length, and I like to use there's a drill one that I really like as well. Ooh, I like that one. All right. Where's the drill one? And you can hear they've got distortion added, this and that. That one's kind of a wide one. There we go. Actually, I think I want a flat one. I like this one. We're going to use this one called Tall. All right. And we're going to route it to channel 6. You see we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? We're just lining them up. One thing you want to do when you're working with an 808 in FL Studio is if I were to just hit the note, which I'll do now. I'm going to put it in piano roll real quick. When I hit the note, it rings out, it plays the entire sample. We don't want to do that. We actually want to be able to only play it as long as we want and then cut it off so it can go into the next note cleanly and won't, go over, the notes won't be going over each other. So the way you can do that is click this. We're going to go to this little section right here where you can adjust the delay, the attack, the hold, the decay. The decay is how far it rings out. Sustain is if you're holding it, does it keep its integrity and keep going. And then we have is that release or envelope? Release. Okay, right. So what we're going to do is the hold means as long as you're holding it, it's playing the note. So we are going to extend that all the way out. We're going to turn everything else back down. So if I play here, I think you can see if I'm playing down here. Let's see. Yeah. So as soon as I let go, it stops playing. If I hold it down, it plays the entire sample. So that's the way we want to do it. If you ever hear the word transient, what they're talking about is that little click or pop you hear at the beginning. Kind of like it's a kick, then an 808. We're going to use our own kick, and just so it doesn't interfere with this 808, we're going to change the attack a little bit. So I'm going to turn the attack up just a little. And you can hear it doesn't have that, what's called a transient anymore. It's just a soft attack instead of a hard attack. Heart attack. All right. So anyway, we've got our 808. So I'm going to open up the piano roll. I'm going to Control V. It's pretty good there. I'm I'm just playing it to hear how, yeah. So you want to check and see what octave it's in. Okay. Yeah, there's not a lot of low to that. Let me play this one. Alright. Okay. So one thing we want to do, I like it in the lower octave, because it's just complementing what there's already that bass in the guitar. It's just filling out the bottom part of that. So I'm going to leave that there. We don't need the ch-ch-ch-chits. We don't need that in the bass. So I'm going to take these little cuts out here. All right. Oh, wait, hold up. We do need those ones there. Okay. And then what I'm doing is I've got the select tool. I should explain what I'm doing here. I've got the select tool right here, and I'm just highlighting the thing I want to get rid of, and all I'm doing is pressing a delete key on the keyboard. So delete. There we go. I can't really hear the 808. Hold on. Let me do something else. So I'm going to go to the mixer. So I know it's on channel 6. I'm going to go to the mixer. Wait, where'd it go? Oh, there it was. All right. I'm going to solo it. That doesn't sound like the right note. Oh, when it gets a little higher, it really rings out and it sounds better. I don't like it. I don't like this sub bass. Let's try another sound. Something's not working. It doesn't sound clear, or, you know, I've always used this drill one. It seems to work better. That sounds too low. Yeah, let's move it up to octave. So I'm going to hit Control A, and I'm going to drag it up from this note, which is B flat or A sharp, that one right there. I'm going to drag it up to the same note, but an octave up. So an octave is just going from the same note up the scale back to the same note. For example, you know, from your little chart, you know that C always is right before these two black notes. So C, an octave up from this, would be C, and then the two black notes up here. But let's play this real quick. Let's see what it sounds like. That's better. Yeah, that's better. That's better. All right. Now we're going to, you know, we're not really getting big into mixing yet, but I do want to add one plugin to this called the Sausage Fattener. I think that's on the, yeah, it should be on your starter links sheet. I think there's a video tutorial on how you can use something called Patcher in FL Studio to get this, basically a plugin that does the same exact thing for free. So, you know, Google that or YouTube it. You should be able to do that as well, but this is the paid version of it, Sausage Fattener. All right. So what this does is it really compresses the sound. And when I mean compress, I mean dynamic range, like it flattens out the waveform so that it picks up the things that aren't so loud and brings it forward. So it's more of a flat sound versus one with a high dynamic range. So dynamic range would be like, it could get really soft like this, and you can barely hear what's it. But then once you get louder, you hear it, right? Well, if it's compressed, that part that I was whispering, you'd be able to hear very clearly because it's just bringing everything to the top and making everything loud. Normally, you wouldn't do a lot of that. You might do that some with vocals and things like that. But for the bass, you want that coming through. A lot of, you know, music, well, I would say today's music, but it's been around for years. 808s are prominent. So what I'm going to do is increase the fatness, which is a compression. Color brings out some of the upper octaves of the frequency. We're going to leave color down because we've got the guitar doing that work. So let's just hear, there we go. And then another thing that you want to do is you want to make this sound, the kick, the bass, and the snare. you want to keep down the middle of your mix. So there's the right side of the mix, the left side of the mix. You want to keep it down the center. And a great way to do that is with this little knob right here. So if I were to do this, it makes the sound wider and spreads it out. You can see it's called stereo separation in this, if you look in this little part right here. So when I highlight it, it's 100% separated. Well, I'm going to close that up, and it's going to be 100% merged, so it's going to be right down the middle. I'll play with this knob so you can hear the difference. That's right down the middle. That's separated. There we go. All right. This bass sounds a lot better than the previous one. Let me go back to the mixer and stop soloing that. There we go. Now you can hear that bass coming in. One thing I want to do is I don't like the long sustain at the beginning of each phrase, so I'm going to go to step, and we're just going to. There we go. We're going to make sure those are separate notes so it goes right along with this melody. There we go. Yeah, there we go. All right, so we got a good sub-bass 808 sound. Let's go to the next thing. Hey, what's going on? I hope you've enjoyed this training. This training is just part of a larger course, so if you want to take the whole course, just go to this playlist right here. Also, if you subscribe to my channel, you're going to get a lot of information on how to get your music into TV and film. So if that's something that interests you, go ahead and subscribe, comment, like, all of those things. Let's go.